I knew something was wrong the moment I pulled into my driveway and saw their Mercedes parked in my spot. My in-laws never visited unannounced, and Dave hadn't mentioned they were coming over. My husband's black SUV was there too, even though he should have been at work. I'm Louisa. And until that moment, I thought I had a normal marriage with normal in-law problems. You know, the kind where your mother-in-law criticizes your cooking and makes passive-aggressive comments about grandchildren. Not the kind where they try to steal your house. The front door was unlocked. I could hear their voices floating from the living room, that distinct tone Nicole used when she felt particularly pleased with herself. My heels clicked against the hardwood floors as I walked in, rolling my carry-on behind me. I'd cut my business trip short by a day, wanting to surprise Dave. Some surprise. They were sitting there like they owned the place. Nicole perched on my grandmother's antique armchair, Henry standing by the fireplace, and Dave, my husband of 5 years, looking anywhere but at me. Oh, Louisa. Nicole's smile didn't reach her eyes. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Clearly. I set my bag down, noting the manila envelope on the coffee table. What's going on? Nicole's perfectly manicured hand reached for the envelope. We thought it would be better to do this in person. She pulled out a document, extending it toward me. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. I took the paper, my hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. An eviction notice. My eyes scanned the document, catching phrases like transfer of deed and new ownership. There must be some mistake, I said, though I already knew there wasn't. Ricky from the title registry had warned me last week about unauthorized changes to my property files. I'd dismissed it as a clerical error. No mistake, Henry spoke up, his voice carrying that fake sympathy he reserved for business deals. The house is now in Dave and our names. We've decided it's best if you find other arrangements. I looked at Dave, who was studying the carpet, like it held the secrets of the universe. You did this? He cleared his throat. It's complicated, Lou. Mom and Dad need... Don't call me Lou. My voice was ice. When did you forge my signature? Nicole stood up, smoothing her designer skirt. There's no need for accusations. Everything is perfectly legal. We have witnesses, notarized documents. Funny, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Because I have the original deed showing I'm the sole owner. The one I paid for with my inheritance. The one you'd need my signature to change. I started dialing. Who are you calling? Dave finally looked at me, panic creeping into his voice. First, the police, then my lawyer. I met Nicole's gaze. You really should have checked whose name was on the original mortgage before trying this little coup. Now, Louisa, Henry stepped forward, let's be reasonable. Reasonable? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want reasonable? How's this? You have exactly 30 seconds to get out of my house before I report you all for attempted property theft and fraud. You wouldn't dare, Nicole hissed. We're family. Family doesn't try to make family homeless. The 911 operator answered, and I kept my eyes locked on Nicole as I spoke. Yes, I need to report an attempted property theft. I've just returned home to find my in-laws and husband trying to evict me from my house using fraudulent documents. Dave jumped up. Louisa, wait. I have documentation proving sole ownership, I continued to the operator. Yes, that's 1542 Maple Grove Drive. They're still here. Nicole's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. Henry was already heading for the door, pulling his wife along. Dave stood frozen, looking between me and his retreating parents. Choose carefully, I told him as sirens wailed in the distance. Because whatever you do next, I promise you'll regret trying to steal my house. He grabbed his keys and ran after his parents. I sat down in my grandmother's chair, still holding the phone, and smiled. They thought I was just the quiet little wife who would roll over and give up everything she'd worked for. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The police took my statement while I sat at my kitchen island, clutching a mug of tea that had long gone cold. Officer Martinez kept glancing at the stack of documentation I'd pulled from my home office safe. And you're certain you never signed anything transferring the deed? She asked. Positive. The last document I signed was the original mortgage. I pulled out my phone, showing her the text from Ricky. I got this warning last week about unauthorized changes to the property files. I should have taken it more seriously. The front door opened and Rosalie burst in, her lawyer briefcase clutched tight. I came as soon as I could. She hugged me before turning to the officers. I'm her attorney. While Rosalie reviewed the situation with the police, my mind drifted to the first time I'd seen Nicole's true colors. It was 3 months after Dave and I got engaged. You know, Nicole had said over brunch, swirling her mimosa, it's tradition for the bride's family to pay for the wedding, but given your circumstances. She'd glanced meaningfully at my simple outfit. I'd smiled, remembering my grandmother's words about keeping your cards close. Actually, I can cover it. Grandmother left me quite comfortable. The flash of interest in Nicole's eyes should have warned me. Louisa? Rosalie's voice pulled me back. There's something else you need to see. She slid a paper across the counter. The bank flagged this yesterday. Someone took out a loan using the house as collateral. My hands shook as I read the amount. $80,000? When? 2 weeks ago. Rosalie pointed to a signature. That's supposedly yours. I pulled out my phone again, scrolling through texts from Dave over the past month. Look at this. I showed them his message from 3 weeks ago. Mom and Dad are having some financial troubles. Nothing serious. Officer Martinez made a note. Classic setup. I'd like to file charges, I said. Not yet, Rosalie cut in. Let me do some digging first. We need to understand how deep this goes. After the police left, Rosalie and I sat on my back porch, the same porch where Dave had proposed, where we'd planned our future. What a joke. Remember when you first met Dave? Rosalie asked, opening a bottle of wine. Yeah, art gallery fundraiser. He seemed so different from his parents. I took a long sip. Should have known better. The first time I met Nicole, she asked about my family connections before asking my name. Speaking of family, Rosalie hesitated. Have you told Genesis? My half-sister? We haven't spoken in years. Not since the fight over Mom's estate. My phone buzzed. A text from Dave. Can we talk, please? Don't respond, Rosalie warned. Everything threw me now. Another buzz. Nicole this time. You're making a terrible mistake. This house belongs in our family. I laughed bitterly. Our family? I paid the down payment. I make the mortgage payments. Dave's name was only added because we were married. About that? Rosalie pulled out another document. I had my colleague check the loan application. They used a copy of your marriage certificate. But look at the date. I squinted at the paper. That's not our wedding date. This is dated 3 months earlier. Exactly. They forged that too. Rosalie's eyes gleamed. They got sloppy. We can nail them on multiple counts of fraud. My phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. This is Ricky from the registry office. There's more you need to know. Can we meet? I showed Rosalie the text. She nodded slowly. Set it up. Public place. I typed a quick response, then looked at my best friend. You know what kills me? Last Christmas, Nicole gave me this fancy family photo album. Said she was so happy to have me in the family. Meanwhile, she was probably already planning this. They won't get away with it, Rosalie promised, refilling our glasses. But we need to be smart. Strategic. Oh, I can do strategic. I pulled up Amy Flores' contact info, the reporter who'd covered the art gallery where I used to work. They want to play games? Let's show them how it's done. My phone lit up with another text. This one made my blood freeze. Genesis. Mom's inheritance wasn't the only thing they wanted. We need to talk. Now. I met Ricky at a busy Starbucks the next morning. He was younger than I expected, nervously shredding a napkin as he talked. Look, I could lose my job for this, he said, sliding a folder across the table. But what they did, it's not right. Inside were copies of the deed transfer documents. Dave's signature was dated 3 days before I left for my business trip. His parents' signatures, mysteriously, were dated 2 weeks earlier. They didn't even try to make it look legitimate, I muttered. There's more. Ricky lowered his voice. The notary stamp? It's from someone who lost their license 6 months ago. And the loan paperwork came through my office, too. They're trying to pull equity out of the house fast. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. How much have they taken? The $80,000 is just the first draw. There's another application pending for twice that. I pulled out my phone and texted Rosalie. Second loan pending, bigger, need to stop it. Why are you helping me? I asked Ricky. He flushed. My mom lost everything in her divorce. Dad pulled something similar. Some things just aren't right, you know? My phone buzzed with Dave's 7th attempt at contact. Please, can we meet? I can explain everything. This time I responded, Okay, your office, 2 p.m. Rosalie would kill me, but I needed to hear him say it. Dave's real estate office was empty when I arrived. Lunch hour. He stood when I entered looking like he hadn't slept in days. Lou, don't! I set my phone on his desk, voice recorder running. Just tell me why. Mom and Dad are in trouble. The IRS is investigating their properties. They needed somewhere to park their assets. He ran his hands through his hair. It was supposed to be temporary. So you committed fraud. It's not fraud. You never really contributed after the down payment anyway. I smiled as he fell right into my trap. Really? So the mortgage payments from my account every month were what? A gift? He paled, realizing what he'd admitted. That's not what I meant. Tell me about the loans, Dave. $80,000 wasn't enough. How did you... Does it matter? Were you going to tell me before or after you drained all the equity I've built? His face hardened. My parents needed help. You wouldn't understand. Your family's all dead except that junkie sister. My hand itched to slap him, but I kept my cool. Funny you should mention Genesis. We had an interesting chat this morning. Fear flickered across his face. She told me about the paperwork you sent her 3 years ago, trying to get her to sign over her part of Mom's estate. Said you claimed to be her financial advisor. I leaned forward. Was that before or after you married me for my inheritance? That's ridiculous. Is it? Because Genesis kept those emails, Dave. All of them, including the ones where you discussed the plan with your parents. He slumped in his chair. You don't understand. Dad's business is underwater. Mom's medical bills. Save it. I stood up, grabbing my phone. By the way, I'm meeting with Amy Flores this afternoon. Remember her? The journalist who covered that charity auction where we met? You wouldn't. Watch me. My phone buzzed as I reached the door. A text from Nicole. You ungrateful little witch, after everything we've done for you. I turned back to Dave. One last thing. Next time you plan to steal someone's house, make sure they don't have friends at the title registry office. I was halfway to my car when my phone rang. Genesis. Did you tell him? She asked. About the emails? Yes. Good, because I found Mom's old safety deposit box key. You're not going to believe what's inside. I started the car, hands steady on the wheel. Meet me at Rosalie's office in an hour. And Genesis? Thank you. For everything. Hey, we might not always get along, but nobody messes with my sister. As I drove, another text from Nicole lit up my phone. You have no idea what you've started. I smiled, thinking of the recorder in my purse, the documents from Ricky, Genesis's emails, and Amy's upcoming exposé. No, Nicole, I said to my empty car. You have no idea what I'm about to finish. Genesis was already waiting at Rosalie's office, a weathered metal box on the conference table in front of her. 5 years hadn't changed her much. Same wild curls, same intense eyes, just more tattoos. You look good, sis, she said, standing to hug me. For someone whose husband just tried to steal her house. Rosalie cleared her throat. Let's focus. What's in the box? Genesis pulled out a stack of papers, yellowed with age. Remember when Mom died and her estate seemed smaller than expected? Dad always said she was bad with money, I replied. Yeah, well, Dad lied. Genesis spread the documents across the table. Mom had offshore accounts, investment properties, and guess who helped her hide them during the divorce? Henry, I breathed, recognizing the letterhead on some of the papers. Dave's father was Mom's lawyer? Bingo. Genesis pointed to a series of dates. He helped her hide millions from Dad. Then, after she died, he helped himself to all of it. Rosalie leaned forward, legal instincts firing. That's why they targeted you both. They already knew about the hidden assets. But why marry me? I asked. Why not just take everything then? Because Genesis pulled out more papers. Mom left everything to both of us, jointly. They needed both signatures to access it. When I wouldn't sign their paperwork 3 years ago, they needed another way in. Dave. The pieces clicked. That's why he was so interested in my family history at that gallery fundraiser. He was fishing for information. My phone buzzed. A text from Henry. We should discuss this like reasonable people. Over dinner, perhaps? They're getting nervous, Rosalie said, reading over my shoulder. Genesis's evidence changes everything. There's more. Genesis opened her laptop. I saved every email Dave sent me pretending to be a financial advisor. Look at this one. The email was dated 2 months before Dave and I met. Target confirmed at gallery event. Will proceed as discussed. Parents say inheritance estimated 2.5 M plus. He was reporting back to them, I said, feeling sick. Our whole relationship was a setup. Wait, Rosalie pointed at the screen. Look at the email address he copied. That's Nicole's private account. My phone buzzed again. Dave, please don't do anything rash. We can work this out. Work what out? I threw my phone down. How they plan to steal not just my house but my entire inheritance? How your father helped my mother hide money and then stole it after she died? Genesis touched my arm. Hey, remember what Mom always said? The best revenge is making them regret ever meeting you. Rosalie was already typing furiously. With these documents, we can file criminal charges. Conspiracy, fraud, theft by deception. And that's just the start. No, I said slowly. Not yet. I want them to suffer first. I turned to Genesis. Remember that summer you worked for the IRS? A slow smile spread across her face. Still have some friends there. Want me to make a call? Several. I picked up my phone. But first, I'm meeting Amy for coffee. She's very interested in writing about legal professionals who prey on grieving families. Be careful, Rosalie warned. Once this goes public, they'll get desperate. Good. I gathered the documents. Let them feel what it's like to lose everything they thought was secure. My phone lit up with a final text from Nicole. Don't force us to play hardball, dear. You won't like the consequences. I showed the message to Genesis and Rosalie. Looks like Mother Dearest is threatening me now. She doesn't know who she's dealing with, Genesis grinned. Want me to tell her about the time you got that handsy professor fired in college? No need. I stood, straightening my jacket. She'll find out soon enough what happens when you underestimate the quiet ones. Rosalie began packing up the evidence. I'll start the paperwork. Genesis, get your IRS contacts ready. Louisa? I know, I smiled. Keep the recorder running every time I talk to them. Document everything. Walking out of the office, I felt lighter than I had in days. They thought they were so clever, playing their long game. But they forgot one crucial detail. I wasn't just the prize they were trying to steal from. I was the player they never saw coming. The cafe where I met Amy was packed, which was perfect. More witnesses if Dave or his parents tried anything stupid. This is explosive, Amy said, scanning through the documents. A prominent real estate family involved in fraud, inheritance theft, and forged documents? My editor's going to love this. I want them named, I said, stirring my coffee. All of them. Even Dave? Especially Dave. I played her the recording from his office. Her eyes widened at his confession about the mortgage payments. We'll need to verify everything, she said, taking notes. But this is solid. When do you want it to run? Tomorrow, morning edition. My phone buzzed. Dave again. Mom and Dad want to meet. Please. They're willing to sign everything back over. Too late, I muttered, showing Amy the text. They're getting nervous. Good timing for the article, then. She packed up her notebook. It'll go live at 6 a.m. online, print edition by 7. Want me to send you the link? Please. I stood to leave, then paused. Amy? Make sure you mention their charity work. Nicole's particularly proud of chairing the Children's Hospital Foundation. Amy's smile was predatory. Nothing hurts these types more than social humiliation. Got it. I spent the night at Genesis's apartment. Rosalie thought it was safer than staying at the house in case the Wagners tried anything desperate. At 6 a.m. sharp, my phone exploded. First came the article notification. Prominent family accused of fraud and inheritance theft. A web of deception exposed. Then the text started. Nicole. What have you done? Henry. This is a serious mistake. Dave. Please call me, please. Genesis read the article over my shoulder, cackling. Amy didn't hold back. Look, she even found 3 other families they've scammed. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ms. Russell? A man's voice. This is Robert from the Children's Hospital Foundation. We've seen the article. Would you be willing to provide additional documentation? By noon, Nicole had been asked to resign from 3 charity boards. Henry's law firm had placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. Dave's real estate office voicemail said he was temporarily unavailable. They're scrambling, Rosalie reported during our lunch call. Henry just tried to access their offshore accounts. Too late. The IRS froze everything an hour ago. My doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Nicole stood there, alone, looking decidedly less polished than usual. Don't answer it, Genesis warned. I pressed the intercom. Yes? Louisa, please. Nicole's voice cracked. You don't understand what you've done. We'll lose everything. Like you tried to make me lose everything? That was different. We're family. I laughed. No, Nicole, we're not. We never were. Ask Henry about my mother's accounts if you want to know why. She went pale. What are you talking about? Check your email. I sent you copies of everything we found in Mom's safety deposit box. You know, the one your husband helped her hide money in, before he stole it all? That's impossible. Is it? Maybe ask Henry why he's been transferring money to accounts in the Caymans for the past 5 years. The IRS is very interested in those transactions. She slumped against the door. Please, we can fix this. Like you fixed my deed, or forged my signature, or married your son off to me just to get access to my inheritance? The security camera caught her flinch at each accusation. The article is just the beginning, I continued. Tomorrow, the IRS announces their investigation. Then the State Bar Association reviews Henry's license. But hey, at least you'll have plenty of time to explain it all to each other. You vindictive little... Goodbye, Nicole. Don't come back. I watched her storm off, heels clicking furiously on the sidewalk. My phone buzzed with a text from Amy. Follow-up story tomorrow? Sources say IRS investigation goes back decades. I smiled, typing back, give them hell. Genesis high-fived me. Think they regret messing with you yet? Not yet. I pulled up Dave's contact info. But they will. Time to let my dear husband know about the divorce papers being delivered to his office. You're evil, Genesis grinned. I've never been prouder to be your sister. The divorce papers hit Dave like a truck. I watched through Rosalie's office window as he paced the conference room, running his hands through his hair every few seconds. You don't have to be here for this, Rosalie said. Yes, I do. I straightened my blazer. I want to see his face when he realizes what's coming. We entered the conference room. Dave looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. Good. Lou, he started. Ms. Russell, Rosalie corrected. Let's begin. Dave's lawyer looked nervous, especially when Rosalie started laying out documents. First, she said, we have evidence of premeditated fraud. Emails planning the marriage specifically to access my client's inheritance. Then we have the forged deed transfer, illegal loans, and attempted theft of property. We can explain, Dave's lawyer began. I'm not finished. Rosalie pulled out more papers. We also have documentation of your client's involvement in his parents' tax evasion scheme. The IRS is particularly interested in that part. Dave slumped in his chair. Please, can we just talk about this? Like you talked to me about adding your parents to my house deed? I kept my voice steady. Or about the loans you took out in my name. My parents needed help. The IRS was what? Investigating them for stealing my mother's hidden accounts? The ones your father helped her set up before stealing them himself? The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? I slid Genesis's documentation across the table. You really should have researched my family better before targeting me. Did you know Henry was Mom's lawyer? That he helped her hide money during her divorce? That's not... Dad wouldn't... He did. And now the IRS knows everything. They're very interested in where that money went after Mom died. Dave's lawyer was reading the papers, looking increasingly alarmed. We need a break. No breaks, Rosalie said. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign these divorce papers. You're going to admit to the fraud. And you're going to tell the IRS everything about your parents' schemes. Or what? I leaned forward. Or I press criminal charges. All of them. The DA's office is very interested in real estate fraud these days. Dave's phone buzzed. He checked it, then went even paler. Problem? I asked sweetly. My office? They're suspending my license pending investigation. Amazing how quickly real estate boards act when they discover one of their agents has been forging documents. I stood up. You have until tomorrow to sign the papers. After that, we do this the hard way. Wait! Dave called as we reached the door. What about my parents? They're being audited. Dad's firm is investigating him. Mom's had to resign from everything. Karma's funny that way. They'll lose everything. Like they tried to make me lose everything? I turned back. You know what the difference is, Dave? I worked for what I have. I earned it. You and your parents? You just take. His phone buzzed again. The bank. They're calling in my loans. All of them? I smiled. Even the private ones? Wow, it's almost like someone told them about your fraud investigation. You're destroying us. No, you did that yourselves. I opened the door. Sign the papers, Dave. It's the only way to save anything at all. In the hallway, my phone lit up with a text from Genesis. IRS just called. They're raiding Henry's office tomorrow morning. Another message popped up, this one from Amy. Second article just dropped. 3 more families have come forward about similar scams. Feel better? Rosalie asked as we left the building. Getting there. I checked my watch. The locksmith should be done changing my house locks by now. And the security system? Installed this morning, along with cameras. I smiled. Let them try something now. My phone rang. Nicole's number. I sent it to voicemail, but her message popped up anyway. You've ruined us. I hope you're happy. I typed back. Actually, I am. By the way, how's that IRS audit going? Evil, Rosalie laughed. I love it. They wanted to play games, I said, sliding into my car. Too bad they didn't realize I was better at them. The courthouse was packed. Amy's articles had drawn attention, and now everyone wanted to see the family that had orchestrated such an elaborate fraud scheme. I sat with Rosalie and Genesis in the front row, watching Henry and Nicole fidget at the defendant's table. Dave sat separately with his own lawyer. He'd signed the divorce papers yesterday, but it was too late to save himself from this. "All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Martinez entered, looking stern as she reviewed the documents before her. "This is quite the case," she said. "Multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, tax evasion, and attempted property theft, not to mention the unauthorized practice of law regarding these offshore accounts." Henry's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my clients—" "Save it," the judge cut him off. "I've reviewed the evidence. The emails alone are damning enough. But the forged documents, the stolen inheritance, the systematic targeting of grieving families. In 30 years on the bench, I've rarely seen such calculated malice." Nicole started crying. I didn't buy it for a second. "Mrs. Wagner," the judge addressed her directly, "your performance is unnecessary. The evidence shows you were the architect of many of these schemes, including the plan to use your son's marriage to access Ms. Russell's inheritance." Dave wouldn't look at his mother. "Your Honor," Rosalie stood, "we have additional documentation regarding the theft of funds from Margaret Russell's estate." "Approach." I watched Henry's face as Rosalie handed over Genesis's evidence. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Wagner," the judge's voice could have frozen hell. "You helped Mrs. Russell hide assets during her divorce, then stole them after her death, while acting as her attorney?" "I can explain," Henry started. "The explanation is simple," Genesis spoke up from beside me. "He thought no one would ever find Mom's records. He thought we were just two stupid girls who wouldn't understand what he'd done." The judge nodded. "The State Bar Association will be very interested in this, as will the IRS." My phone buzzed silently. Another text from Amy. "2 more families coming forward. How many people did they scam?" "Given the severity and premeditation of these crimes," the judge continued, "I'm denying bail pending trial. Mr. and Mrs. Wagner, you are remanded to custody." Nicole's wails echoed as officers approached. "This is all your fault," she screamed at me. "We gave you everything." "No," I stood, meeting her eyes. "You tried to take everything. From me, from my mother, from all those other families. The only thing you gave me was the motivation to stop you." Henry was silent as they led him away, but Dave jumped up. "Wait! Please, I'll tell you everything. About all the properties, all the hidden accounts." "Sit down," his lawyer hissed. "No, I'm done protecting them." Dave turned to me. "I'm sorry, Lou. I know it doesn't help, but I'm sorry." "You're right," I said coldly. "It doesn't help." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Amy hung back, giving me a thumbs up. She'd earned exclusive rights to this story by breaking it first. "How does it feel?" a reporter shouted. "Bringing down an entire fraud empire?" "It feels like justice," I replied. "Not just for me, but for every family they stole from." Genesis squeezed my hand. "Mom would be proud." My phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. "This is Robert from the museum board. We followed your story. Would you consider returning to Curate? We have a new exhibition about justice and restitution." Rosalie read the message over my shoulder. "Perfect timing. You need something new to focus on." "Actually," I smiled, "I have an idea. Those families the Wagners stole from, they'll need help recovering their assets." "Legal aid?" Rosalie's eyes lit up. "I could help with that." "We could help with that," Genesis corrected. "My IRS contacts would be useful." Thunder rolled overhead as we walked to our cars. A storm was coming, but for the first time in weeks, I wasn't worried about weathering it. "You know what the best part is?" I said, looking back at the courthouse. "They thought I was weak because I was quiet. They never realized that still waters run deep." "And sometimes," Genesis grinned, "they run straight through everything in their path." The rain started falling as we drove away, washing the courthouse steps clean. The moving truck pulled away from my driveway for the last time. I stood in the empty living room, remembering the day I'd found Nicole, Henry, and Dave sitting here with their fake eviction notice. My phone buzzed, a text from Genesis. "Court just released the sentencing. Want to hear it?" "Tell me," I said when she picked up. Henry got 15 years for fraud, tax evasion, and theft. Nicole got 12. Dave took a plea deal. 3 years plus restitution for cooperating. I touched the wall where my wedding photos used to hang. How much restitution? Everything. The judge ordered them to repay every family they scammed. They'll be bankrupt when they get out. The doorbell rang. Rosalie stood there with a bottle of champagne. Ready? Almost. I walked through each room one last time. This house had been my dream, but now it felt tainted. The new owners were another family who'd been scammed by the Wagners. I'd sold it to them at a fair price, using the proceeds to start something better. We drove downtown to our new office building. The sign still had that fresh paint shine. Russell and Graham Legal Advocacy Center, helping families fight financial fraud. Look who's here. Rosalie nodded toward the entrance. Amy stood with her camera crew, next to an elderly couple I recognized from the trial. More of the Wagner's victims. Just in time, Amy called out. Want to do the honors? I unlocked the doors, letting everyone inside. The office was already bustling. Genesis had set up her forensic accounting department, and Rosalie's legal team was training new advocates. Mrs. Patterson, I greeted the elderly woman. How are you? Better, thanks to you. She squeezed my hand. They almost took our retirement. Now we're getting it back. That's what we're here for. I showed them around. Every room is named after a family the Wagners hurt. But now, these rooms help other families fight back. My phone rang. Dave's prison number. I declined it, like always. Still calling? Rosalie asked. He can talk to our attorneys. I watched another family walk in seeking help. I'm done with their voices in my head. Amy approached with her microphone. Ready for the interview? People want to know what inspired this place. I looked around at what we'd built. Not just an office, but a refuge. A place where people like me could fight back against people like the Wagners. They wanted my house, I told the camera. They wanted my money. They wanted to break me down and make me disappear. Instead, they gave me a purpose. And the other families? Amy prompted. Are getting justice. The FBI's fraud unit is using our cases to build a task force. Genesis is teaching other accountants how to spot similar schemes. Rosalie's training lawyers to help victims fight back. What about you? Any regrets? I thought about Nicole's tears in court, Henry's silence in handcuffs, Dave's desperate phone calls. My only regret is not seeing through them sooner, but that's why we're here now, to help others see the signs before it's too late. Genesis appeared with champagne glasses. Time to celebrate? Almost. I faced the cameras again. To anyone watching this who's being scammed, manipulated, or stolen from, you're not alone. You're not powerless, and you're definitely not stupid for trusting people who betrayed you. That's the quote I needed. Amy smiled, signaling her crew to wrap up. Later, as we toasted our new beginning, my phone lit up with a final text from Nicole's prison account. I hope you're satisfied with destroying our family. I showed it to Genesis and Rosalie before typing back. I am. And I'm even more satisfied helping other families destroy people like you. To karma, Genesis raised her glass. To justice, Rosalie added. To starting over, I finished, looking around at our growing team of advocates and survivors. And to reminding people that the quiet ones aren't weak, we're just waiting for the right moment to roar. Outside, the sun set on our new chapter. They'd wanted my house, but I'd built something better, a fortress for others to shelter in, and a launching pad for fighting back. Sometimes losing everything is just the beginning of finding something better.